Hello, fifth grade. This week in our writing lessons, we don't have any major writing assignments that we are starting, not for a couple more weeks. So we're going to do some practice with cursive in our Friday writing lesson. So you have a handwriting book that has been a part of your lessons. You'll see that they'll come up in your ELA plan from time to time. So today we're going to practice writing some of our cursive letters. So what is cursive? So cursive is a style of writing where the letters connect. You probably have seen this before, and even though as you take a look at this picture, some of the letters look a little bit different, many of them share a lot of similarities to their print counterparts. So if you can read print, you can probably read most things in cursive as well. So I'm going to switch over to my document camera here. And I'm going to show you how to write some of these letters. So I am going to use a nice big fat marker just so you can see very clearly. But when you are writing cursive, you want to hold the pen or pencil between your first and third fingers, a comfortable grip, and your top finger, whoops, underneath the camera, there we go. Your pointer finger just kind of rests on the top, and your bottom two fingers, your ring finger and your pinky, they just kind of curve underneath so that you have a loose, comfortable grip. When you're writing many letters, I like to think of the face of a clock. And I think about the numbers on the clock. There are some cursive letters that start about where 2 on the clock would be. So if I had a clock face, about right here where that dot is would be 2 on the clock. So like the cursive letter A, for example, starts at 2 on the clock. I would start at 2, go up and around the clock, pull straight down, and I leave a little tail where it might connect to my next letter. Lowercase a is the exact same shape but smaller. So I would start about halfway down on the space at 2 on the clock, up and around a smaller clock, and leave a little tail moving into my next letter. There are a couple of others that start at 2 on the clock, so I'm going to skip around in my letters for a minute here. C starts the same way that A does. It looks very similar in cursive as it does to print. It would just connect into the next letter. So let's say I wrote the word cat. My letters would flow together starting at 2 on the clock. That C goes up and around. I go over to 2 on the clock to make my A, up and around for the A, and then it connects into my tall T that pulls straight down. And then I don't cross that T until I have finished. I pick up my pencil and then I cross. Other letters start with a straight line. So B and D are letters that start with a straight line. So I'm going to start all the way at the tippy top, pull straight down to the baseline. I moved my hand away so that you can see, but ordinarily I would retrace back up that line to make my letter. Curve around my 2 bumps for B and retrace at the bottom. That's capital B. I'm going to do a capital D next because that starts with a straight line as well. Sorry for all the auto-focusing that my little document camera wants to do here. So for D, I pull straight down to the baseline, and there's a little bump that I make before I swing back up and around for D. So let me see if I'm going to hold my pencil in kind of a funny way so I can do that one more time so you can see. Pull straight down to the baseline, loop up and around for D. So we have a few other key pieces that you need to write cursive. For something like a lowercase b, B is a nice tall letter. We know it's going to go all the way up to the top of the line. It's not a half size letter like A or lowercase c. When you have a tall letter that starts in cursive, many times it begins with a swoop. So I'm going to come right underneath here. My lowercase b, I start at the baseline and I loop up, then I pull straight down to the baseline. I curve up and just a little bit in before I make a little half loop where I would connect into my next letter. So let's say I was writing the word body. That has a nice upswing B that turns into an O, loops around, goes into a D, and then comes into a Y. So I'm going to write that here. So I start with a nice tall upswing, pull straight down, curve back, loop over, make my O. I'm going to go all the way around my pretend clock. From my O, I loop over into the rounded part of my D, go around that little clock straight up, pull straight down to the baseline, then I loop up again to make my Y. It's like a U shape first, then I pull down below the baseline and loop back. So cursive letters connect here. Let's see. I could also, let me work with another type of shape here. Last one I'm going to show you would be something like an uppercase E and F. I'll do both those letters, upper and lower case. So an uppercase E, it almost looks like a backwards 3. You kind of start at 2 on your clock, you loop in and back out nice and rounded. That's an uppercase E. A lowercase e is very similar to this first loop that we make on the B, but it's a lot smaller. So it's just a half size loop. So we do this little half size loop up, pull straight down, and that's lowercase e. See if that will refocus in there. Oh goodness, sorry about the blurriness. This document camera sometimes, let me push the button and try to make it focus. Try to help out with that. All right, one more here. The last letter we're going to look at is F. So F starts at the top, towards the very top of our lines, but it starts with a short loop, kind of like the connector loop that you make from one letter to the next. So a short loop for F, we pull down, we round up, we cross over, and we leave a little tail here. You might see more than one way to make some cursive letters. There are some slight variations, but this is one example of F. A lowercase f is like a bigger E with a tail part. So lowercase f swoops up, pulls straight down, pull all the way through the baseline, curve back, and end with a little tail here. So those are some examples of cursive letters, guys. We'll be practicing some more in our session on Friday. Hope to see you then. Bye, guys.